Bienvenidos a Caminos Culturales. Yo soy Chuy Martínez. Este programa es dedicado a nuestra comunidad de habla hispana. En este programa exploraremos el arte, la poesía, la música, la historia de nuestra comunidad. Y ahora veamos lo siguiente. Hello. Bienvenidos a otro de sus programas, Caminos Culturales. I'm Chuy Martinez. Welcome to another one of your programs, Caminos Culturales, a program that's dedicated to our community and our community members and artists, literary figures, and you name it. We have the honor to have two special guests today, Mr. Lell Benavides and Nicolás Benavides. Very interesting family. Linda comes from a musical family. In fact, she also played music, and of course that's where Nicolás probably gotten his talent. We're going to be exploring the origins of music, especially the classical operatic system of music, because it is, as we all know, music has so many different realms, and it started in the North Valley with Linda's father. Linda, tell us a little bit about your background, the music background.
I'd love to. My dad's Eddie Garcia, an accordion player, and he had been playing music since he was 4. And then he was playing in all kinds of different bands. And then he decided he wanted his own family band, because we were all musically inclined. So when I was 13, he started the band Eddie Garcia and the Emeralds, which they're still playing on KNW today, Mi Pecosita. And so we started playing and had our own band. And from there, he was friends with everyone, from Al Hurricane to Jeff Bourget to you name it. We played with all of them. Well, Nicolás and I have twin daughters, Elena and Lise, and they all got interested in playing music with their grandpa. So he started from a very young age, playing the recorder, and then went to the saxophone. And my dad got little accordions for the twins, so they started playing in church choirs.
Wow.
And then in the afternoons, evenings, they would show up. He would show up with his saxophone, my dad with the accordion. After a while, we had a whole neighborhood there with them playing rancheras and mambas and salsas and anything you name. Especially the favorite song of my dad's was You Are My Sunshine. So that's how it kind of got started, and Nick took off from there with his music. The others are girls, they still play, one sings, but Nicolás is the one that had that interest of, this is what I'm going to do. And we all played by ear. He reads music, and I read, but my dad never read a lick of music, played everything by ear. And then he got inducted into the New Mexico Music Hall of Fame in 2022.
I remembered.
Yeah.
Nicolás, híjole, how can I start with you? So you got at such a young age, you got such a long career already.
37 is not that young.
Well, to us, you're a young man. You had been into a totally different aspect of music. You transcended the New Mexico music, the mariachi music, all that into what now is such a specialty that not too many people have. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about today is the importance of music. It doesn't matter what kind of music we play or that we listen to, but it is a totally different language, the language of the heart and the mind that gives and inspires us and makes us cry and laugh and everything. So that's the kind of music that you are into it now. Opera is such a specialty. How do and where do you get that inspiration to play that kind of, because you could have gone either way to other types of or rounds of music. So
no, totally. So I grew up, like my mom said, playing like rancheras and corridos, música norteña, and I played in the jazz bands in high school and the concert bands, and I sang in choirs. I just loved performing music. And I didn't go to my first classical music concert, classical, until I was 18, just before graduating high school. I went to the Albuquerque Youth Symphony concert, and they played, I remember, Stravinsky's Firebird Suite. And I just was one of those kids that was just blown away. I saw all these people on stage and an orchestra playing all this music together. That piqued my interest, but it wasn't until I went to college, and they had this free ticket offer to go see the San Francisco Opera. And I went, and it was a Mozart opera, and it was the Magic Flute, which is not one of my favorites now, but I still like it. And then just the costumes, the dancing, the art form, and I just loved it, the spectacle. Why make art if it's not a spectacle, if it's not special, something different in that evening? And I just, naive as I was, I just said, I want to study this. So I jumped in. And it occurs to me that they're all not so different, that all music is folk music at its heart, All music is music for storytelling at its very best, I think. And so I didn't think it was such a different or strange departure to go from playing music with my grandfather by ear to seeing music written for the big stage, because it's all for storytelling, it's all for transcending, it's all for transporting people out of their everyday lives and giving them something else to experience, especially live. I love live music more than anything. I think that's why I was drawn to classical music.
Mm-hmm. And the kind of pieces that you are working on, or they have been working on, and because a lot of your stuff is original. What's the process of creating an opera and putting the story, weaving all these notes and the visuals, and I mean, there's so much to it. And a lot of times, people that never been to an opera or a classical concert, our communities, unfortunately, sometimes we don't have the access to go to a fancy opera or to go to the symphony or places like that. And that's one of the things that I am impressed with your work, is that you're creating work that's interested that interest of our community. It's amazing how I I imagine sometimes what does it do to a composer when you're creating these pieces. You become an artist with all these notes and this. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, it is like a puzzle. Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it. It's puzzling things together. I mean, my favorite people in the audience are first-time audience goers, because I was in their shoes. And I remember what it was like to be essentially an adult and to have gone to a concert like this and been accepted and invited and blown away by the specialness of it. When music like this is done right, it shouldn't feel exclusive, it shouldn't feel like it's inaccessible, but it should feel special. It should feel like this is an experience I'm not going to get every day, whether it's an orchestra or an opera. And I love giving that to people. I love it when people tell me at intermission or after the show, this is my first opera. This happened a lot with the opera that I just closed in Oakland. But being a composer is not so different than being an architect or an engineer or anything else. You do it in small, discrete steps at a time. And actually, the way I write music is still very similar. It's by ear first. I sit at the piano, or I sing just a melody or a couple of chord changes, or just I repeat something over and over, which drives my wife crazy. But I just repeat over and over and over again until I find the right feeling. I'm going for something, or I imagine a story in my head. Like with the opera, what would Dolores Huerta think in this moment in time? What would Cesar Chavez feel if he just won an election with Bobby Kennedy? How much would he celebrate? And I improvise, and I record myself, and then I write it down bit by bit. And this 2-hour opera took years to write.
Wow.
But every day, just a little bit at a time. And I imagine that's what it's like designing an office building to a cathedral to creating a brand new vehicle. Just tiny little bits every single day. It's not like I sit there and every instrument comes to me at once. And I think people are surprised when they realize the job is very much like other jobs. You just study it, you get better at it, and you know all the little bits, and you put it together brick by brick.
And you have collaborators.
Yes.
People like script writers and
Yes.
and you know the stories. And going into Dolores, it impresses me that that something like that. I was always wondering, how can you bring that into the stage? I mean, it's different than theater. I mean, theater or even a movie but opera.
Different. Yeah.
Totally different, and you have to assemble some good people that can understand the concept, the story, and all that to transmit that into the stage and into the audience.
Oh, it's a team sport. It's absolutely, and I like the word sport because it is live, right? Just like sports are. Everybody has to work together to make this thing click. And not just the singers. I have an amazing cast. I got to say, Kelly Guerra, the mezzo-soprano, as Dolores Huerta. She is amazing, and it is a hard role I've written for her. She is singing in almost every scene, just like Dolores was at the time in 1968. My librettist, Marella Martin Koch, she was right there with me for 5 years. It's not like she finished the words and gave them to me. It was back and forth. You know, the music is usually the most important focus. But just below the surface, the words, the music doesn't click when the words don't click. And she, would tell you, I would call her at a random Tuesday morning and be like, I'm writing this aria and it's not working, or I had this line and it spun out to something beautiful. And I would love a few more words here. Can you help me make the story make sense and give me some more words? Because the melody goes a certain way. All the way to the director, it's a lot of trust. You give people so much trust. And it's a high wire act. When all said and done, you have lighting design, costumes, singers, opera chorus, the orchestra, the conductor, the stage director, the choreographer, the chorus master who prepares the chorus, all down to the ticket holders, making sure the house goes smooth. There's hundreds of people involved to putting an opera on stage.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Nothing happens without everybody. And so the experience that you get when you go, is truly a special experience. It takes complete coordination from everybody, and I'm very proud of that.
And how difficult it is when you create this kind of works to get funded for it. Like, for example, I was noticing that you got the Guggenheim, which is a really good funding source in the National Endowment for the Arts. Now, do you have to write a script that interests people, or how does it? What's the process of? Because with so many people, it also takes a lot of money for a production like this.
I would say the hardest part of getting a production on its feet is the funding, because the talent is there. Every city has talented people, singers, actors, dancers. There's people who do the arts. We're human beings. We live for the arts. There's talented artists everywhere. But getting the money to pay them and to come together and to do something is always hard. I've been really lucky to have gotten some good sources of funding in the past few years. The Guggenheim Fellowship was a huge surprise. And that allowed me to take the year off of everything else and just focus on writing and finishing this opera and other pieces, like some orchestra works and chamber music. It was a financial award, but the biggest gift was the gift of time. The time to focus and to get better at my craft was amazing. But you don't apply for the Guggenheim. I applied for by myself as an artist, but most things you apply for in conjunction with an organization. And so you have to work with the organization, and even if they're interested, you have to work together to create a packet to apply for the NEA or a certain foundation, the Clovis Foundation, all these big awards that fund the arts. And we do it because we want to do it. And it seems like a big award, but when you think about all the people that are involved, the money has to get stretched very, very, very thin. And it's not so unlike any other endeavor. Like when I think about Dolores Huerta, the subject of my opera, and the union organizing efforts, they would get a donation and they'd have to stretch it every little way for food, for entertainment, to make sure that there was postcards for their cause, to make sure there was health insurance for their workers, right? People know how to make money stretch really far, and the arts are no different.
Yeah, because it must be, I was wondering how difficult it is nowadays, especially with, the changes at the federal level, because in the past there was a lot of help from the National Endowment for the Arts, even the state, because they're all connected to the federal programs.
Yeah.
And so it hasn't affected you.
Well, it has. I mean, there are ripple effects, when the biggest thing, there's individual donors and there's foundational support and government support are usually the biggest areas of support. Foundational support, the big foundations are scaling back their arts giving to give to other worthy causes, like environmental support, climate justice, helping workers and vulnerable populations. But these resources are finite, so they're pulling back on their arts giving and giving to other things. So future performances of my Dolores opera are, they're planned and we're moving forward with them, but the funding that we were relying on is pulling back or drying up. Maybe we'd get half of the money we thought we were going to get. And luckily, a lot of people are stepping in, individual donors, people who have the means and the finances, not even wealthy people who are just have a little bit of expendable income and they want to see this happen. I think it shows how much people value the arts. But it is difficult to ask for money to do these things. And luckily, the opera companies usually are the ones that have to spearhead that. But it is changing how these things get performed.
And I know that you already presented this once in California.
Yes.
And how was it received? It was
great. I mean, it was a dream come true. The Dolores Huerta opera had like 2 sellout performances, basically. We broke records for this opera company, West Edge Opera in Oakland. And Dolores herself came. And I think it was really special. The opera focuses on the 1968 struggle of the United Farm Workers and the allyship of Bobby Kennedy. And a lot of history buffs came, people to see how it played out. We usually focus on Bobby Kennedy and how that assassination affected the course of history. But we don't always think about the vulnerable farm workers, the most vulnerable in our society, how they rose up and fought. And even after he was gone, they continued to fight. And I think I wanted to show a story of American history where when people put their minds together and put their bodies together as one unified front, we can achieve great things. And we have, and we will continue to achieve great things, I think.
That's great. And talking about that, the inspiration that you get, did you get it from Dolores itself in general? Because I know that you've done a lot of work that has to do with workers, with women, with civil rights, all that. Where does that interest come from? I know that your mother is an activist, and does all that had played something in your life as far as inspiration?
Yeah.
Has that inspired in some way? Because I noticed a lot of your work has something to do with that.
Yeah, well, my family, I mean, so the upfront answer is we are related to Dolores Huerta. And so we grew up, we grew up with her as one of our cousins, and family reunions, seeing her, talking to her. She loves children. So when I was a kid, and everybody, not just me being special, every kid at family reunions, she's always so attentive to kids. She has 11 kids herself, And then as I got older, I just modeled after all the beautiful role models in my life. I mean, my parents are very active in their community. My mom was so hyperactive, and her father in the church. Every level of community organizing is important, My father is a trustee in the village of Los Ranchos, where he helps serve in local government. And small government is where things happen, right? It's where the rubber meets the road. It's where the action happens that affect everyday lives. And I feel like I have a family that values service, public service, and community commitment. And that's super special. But the Dolores herself, I mean, having her as our biggest role model has been very special. And whenever I heard the story of 1968, I knew that that was a dramatic moment. Even before I wanted to be a composer, I was obsessed with that story, only because I was inspired. I felt, if you can deal with the trauma of having fought for 3 years, and then this person who was going to help you, the most powerful person ascending in government, was assassinated, and then you thought, I'm going to continue fighting. You must be, a lot of ganas, like you really are brave. And I aspired to be that brave. I thought, if she could do that, and they could do that, we could do so much. And people deserve to know how hard Americans have fought, especially in this community, in our Hispanic community.
So Dolores Huerta was in this program, and we found out a little bit about her life. Is one of the most important people in the country, and coming from a little town in northern New Mexico, being born and being destined to be such a great leader. She has influenced many, many people, including myself, and of course our committee, which is the Recuerda Cesar Chavez committee. We're going on 35 years now.
That's right.
So it's, but that's why the interest is not only that you had created this wonderful opera and this wonderful art piece, but that she will be there forever, because on the archives, whether it be through community programs like this, or such a big art work that you're doing. What other work that you're doing besides Dolores that has to do with the community? I know that you.
Yeah. So I wrote a piece that premiered last year for orchestra called Acequia, which is about the irrigation systems.
Wow.
And I'm so lucky the New Mexico Philharmonic programmed it. They picked it up for January. So I wrote the piece for my parents. I grew up in Los Ranchos, where they raised me, and I grew up with the big iron handle. You walk to the back, to the acequias, and you open up and
las compuertas.
Yeah, and I would complain, about my chores, having to carry that thing all the way in the back to irrigate the fields and my dad's vineyard. But in retrospect, when I moved out of state to go to school, and I noticed that everything was different, the water rights are different. It's very special what we have here because it's shared. The acequia system is all about sharing what we have to make sure everybody has, if not enough, then at least some. Whereas in California, the water rights are the first come, first served. If I get all mine and you don't get yours and get nothing, I don't care. And I thought that was so special that New Mexico still shares the water, not just with people, but with nature. We live in an old floodplain that's no longer flooded. And migratory birds, everything. The cottonwood trees rely on it. So I wrote a piece about that, imagining the water flowing from the mountains into the rivers and into the aquifer. And that'll be in January. And I did a piece around the same time called Querencia, about for the New York Philharmonic and the Juilliard School, in honor of my past grandfather, Eddie Garcia, remembering his accordion playing and the música norteña that he sort of brought to my life. And it's a piece for orchestra with big, highly trained orchestra musicians at David Geffen Hall, where the New York Phil plays. But I had them playing ranchera in the middle, and screaming and shouting is in the score. They had to shout certain things.
Oh, wow.
And it was a beautiful recording and a beautiful performance. And a lot of my music focuses on my upbringing in the Southwest in New Mexico, because I think we're often overlooked in the national discourse of what we've contributed to this country and to our society. And I want to bring a light to the fact that this is such an important, special place. And truthfully, this country is lucky to have us as part of it. They're lucky to have us contributing to the fabric of what it means to be an American, So I want the Latinidad of New Mexico to be in the foreground of what I do, and mostly what I do.
Amazing.
You should talk about the Canto Calo.
Oh, yeah, I have an album coming out in October.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
And I just saw the album artwork this morning. I can't show you yet, but it's going to come out soon. It's called Canto Calo, and it's in honor of the elders, the grandparents.
Yeah, the Calo language,
Exactly.
Of course, I grew up with that, the Pachuco.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, Pachuco. Wow, that's what makes Nicolás such an interesting artist. He goes, He goes beyond just the creativity of a beautiful classical piece, but also the stories behind, something that reflects our culture. And that's what we need, not just here in the Southwest, but also, throughout the country. Your work has been received so well up in other places, like in big cities like New York. You've been to almost every big city, and that's why I was saying at such a young age, because to us, 30 something years, it's a lot of it takes a long time for a person to achieve what you have achieved in such a young age.
Well, I've noticed everywhere I go, even in New York, people are fascinated by New Mexican culture. Even if they've never been here. I used to think, well, if I start writing about this, maybe people won't be interested if I go elsewhere. But people are so fascinated to learn about our culture, how it's like to live here, our landscape, our food, our music, and everywhere I've gone has been well received, which has been so nice.
Interesting life, interesting, people that we have here in New Mexico. And especially in Albuquerque, we have the biggest flamenco festival, the biggest mariachi festival, and now with the opera Dolores is going to be even more out in the map, the world map. So tell us about it. This is happening now in October. It's part of the extended Hispanic National Hispanic Month.
Yes.
And it's going to be only for what?
Three performances.
3 performances.
Opera's crazy because they rehearse so hard, and you only get a few chances to catch it, so it's very special. But Opera Southwest is presenting the Dolores Opera at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. And this might be the only time you'll see an opera that's on the street of the person it's named after, at the Avenida Dolores Huerta, right?
Wow.
So you could drive down the Avenida Dolores Huerta, park at the Hispanic Cultural Center, and see the Opera Dolores. And it's a little over 2 hours of music. It's a lot of dance music. I got a little mini ranchera, some mariachi music in there. I got some jazz. There's a lot of classical singing. It should be very danceable, but don't dance in the audience. Maybe sit down and watch it. But yeah, it should be very groovy music.
Well, knowing our people, probably play the rancheras and start dancing in front of the stage.
But it'd be with operasouthwest.org, I believe, and October 26th, October 31st, and November 2nd are the days to catch this here in Albuquerque.
Wow.
I wanted to mention that everybody has the opportunity to go see this opera because the way that they've structured it, if you're 30 and under or a student,
younger than me,
you can buy an opera ticket for $15 anywhere you want to sit there. If you have groups of 8 or more that want to go, they're offering discounts for you. So they have a program called Opera for All. So that gives the opportunity for anybody and everybody that would like to see this opera to go see it.
That's wonderful. No, I'm so honored to have you in this program. It was time, and it is very important for our community to know the treasures that we have here in New Mexico and in Albuquerque, especially throughout all this national exposure that we get. So Dolores, don't forget, if you get a chance to come and see Dolores at the National Hispanic Cultural Center starting October 26th to the 28th, through the 31st. And we will be there, God willing.
Dolores is planning to come on the 26th.
Oh, Dolores is coming. So, that's another incentive. It's another incentive that we have. And explore. Our community needs to know and needs to experience this art form, because operas are totally different, and we thought that they were out of our reach. So now Nicolás is bringing it to us, and in the heart of Albuquerque, right there in Barelas, at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. So for Caminos Culturales, we want to thank you, and Linda.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you there, and we'll see you next time. My name is Chuy Martinez. Muchas gracias.